Hello, welcome everyone. We're here with Sang Ayun. She speaks to us from Brussels after watching this really powerful film. I'm Asha Averbuch, I'm a journalist in המקום הכי חם בגיהנום. I guess everyone knows we deal a lot with issues and subjects of immigrations and foreign workers in Israel, their rights and whatever is going on. And yeah, I feel I'm lucky to talk to Sangha. And of course, you're really welcome to ask questions, but make sure you make it in the QA section and not in the chat, okay? So hello, Sangha.
Hello.
As I said, I'm really excited to be here after watching this really powerful film. And to make a short introduction, the film is from last year, right? It's 2019. And Sang lives in Brussels. She's been creating films and screenwriting in past decade. You're half Korean, half French. First raised in Korea, then moved to France, and now you live in Brussels. And yeah, and you mentioned a really interesting detail, which I guess we can see something of that in the film about yourself. And it's that you first studied finance and only then switched to filmmaking, right?
Fine art.
Fine arts, okay. So sorry about that. And yeah, so I think I'll begin with the first question. And I think everybody is really curious after watching the film. First of all, how did you think about, choosing the subject and yeah.
Yeah, first, hello everyone. I am very glad to be here with you. And I was so happy to be able to show my film working there. And so how it started, like many years ago, I was still studying in Brussels, and I was, every day taking the tramway to get, at school, and there were everyday Filipino women I would see in the tramway taking care of European little boys and girls. And I was wondering about them and, how they came here and in which condition and everything. And I think these people are very much invisible in our society and didn't know much about them. And many years later, I was interested about, doing a film about nannies working in Parisian families, but then it didn't succeed. And I came across reading a very interesting book by Asuncion Fresno-Zaflo, which is a Filipino researcher. And she wrote a book about the Filipino women that are in France, working as domestic workers, and the way they try to keep the emotional relationship live with their families left behind, the kids, the husband who is taking care of the kids while she's away, and I was really moved by her book, and I have also a story of leaving my own country into a very different culture, feeling also loneliness and kind of a culture shock, and also I have a personal story with because I didn't see my father for 20 years, and my last documentary film was about my search of my father in South Korea. So I don't know, you know, but it started, yeah, by just observing what was happening here every day and try to understand, as I think we are, I mean, implicated in this phenomenon.
Mhm. I see. And I think I personally, and I'm sure everyone else is really curious also, like, you know, a little bit about the like the backstage of the filming and everything. And because of the place you film in, like most of what we see happens in you know, this house where people live, but it's also like a training center, and the training is done through simulations. Some of them are like so hard to watch and imagine people um, you know, putting themselves in such situations. So I think my question is, how did you find this place, and to what extent do people like go to such centers before they leave the country for work? And yeah.
So I did a very long scouting before, because I wanted to observe all the process myself
Yeah, of
before
course.
shooting. So I went like 3 times in the Philippines to observe. And in the film, we have the impression that, you know, the training is only one place and at one moment, but in the reality, it lasts several months, because, you know, you have different kind of
Mm-hmm.
seminars, you have also language courses, you know, you are oriented in a different way. And so, but this training is 216 hours of training. So, and they were on the spot, you know, they said at the dormitory or so. So they're really, you know, in this place together for a long time. So before leaving, and I visited something like 15, 20 training centers, I think. And
Mm-hmm.
I chose this one because I wanted, you know, I chose a place because I was thinking that the director in the center and the trainer would be willing to participate in the project.
Okay.
They are
Mm-hmm.
also ex-abroad, so they also experience very difficult situation abroad before,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and the place also was big, and I wanted to choose the place according to, you know, the kind of film I wanted to do,
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to move with the camera easily. And with this it was a kind of you know, a model apartment, you know, in which they
Mm-hmm.
train. um, yeah, I don't know if I answered all your questions, but
Yeah, I think you did.
yeah.
Um, um, we have a question from Yael Shuv in the audience, and she asked something I really wanted to ask you as well. You know, from watching the film, you ask yourself, why are these women coming once again, right? Like they've already been abroad. They kind of have a clue of what they might be facing. And to me, watching this seemed like they're not just training for their next time, but they're also healing wounds from like their previous time. And so Yael Shuv asks us, why do they come there? They have like the experience and everything, and who pays for the training?
So I mean, the training is mandatory if you want to
Mm-hmm.
go abroad as a medical worker. So you don't have the choice not to do it first.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, so not all of them already went abroad. So some of them were first
Yeah.
timers and some of them
Mm-hmm.
ex abroad. And uh, if you spent a lot of time, you did your first training a bit too much years ago. I mean, yeah, you have to do it again. And yeah, I mean, asking the question about, you know, why they go again it's a very complicated, very complex question, because of course all the individual situation is very different, yeah, I don't know how to answer it myself. I mean,
Yeah,
because I think that it's
from
really
what you
linked,
witnessed.
yeah. I think that there is, there is a will of increase your social position, increase your, get up in the social class. Yeah, you say that. Yeah. And sometimes they think that, okay, it will be several years only, and those they gather, money, and then they will come back, build, their house, or, have the family, and then it will be over. And sometimes, they don't have any other possibility in the country to get a new job. And also, one of the big issues that the salary that is given in the Philippines is so low. I mean, even if you do very much valued job, like, I don't know, you work in an administration, but the salary is so low that sometimes you don't have the choice to do it, not to do it, if you want to send, for instance, your kid in good school, like private schools, things like that. In the film, for instance, you have a woman that was, her husband is an architect. He was working as an architect. She stopped working to take care of her kids. She has 2 kids, and she would be working in a real estate agency. And still she needed to go abroad to do domestic work. And she had this plan in mind of going in Hong Kong. And then when I met her in Hong Kong last year, she had the plan so her husband had found a new job in Hong Kong. And then she wanted to, then ask, for a permit as a resident there. And just to be able to, increase their economic situation, So you have and you have also those who really don't have, any mean of, making a living, and that really need to do something. And the easiest, I would say, but even if it's hard, is to go there and hope that they can build something like. Some of them were not able to do the studies they wanted to do, or they want to build a restaurant, it's their dream, and then they want to pile up, some save some money, and then come back and do what they wanted to do first, like studying and things like that. So
yeah, of course. And just like small question, in this training center, they mentioned a lot the fact the contracts are for 2 years.
Yeah.
I think most of them, is it like something common, or they do the same training for 2 years? Because, for example, in Israel, people come to work in contracts for 6 years. I think you don't have shorter contracts here.
So actually in Israel, of course, sometimes the job is similar, but those who go apply for Israel have another kind of training. This is a caretaker training. So this is the one you see in the film is really a specific
household.
Domestic work training, because the certificate is slightly different. Yeah. And in domestic work, you have 2 years training, 2-year contract abroad. And some of them do 2 years, and then they don't come back. They sometimes do a cross country. So they do, for instance, they migrate from, from Dubai to Hong Kong, for instance. They search for another employee without going back to the country. Or sometimes they come back and then they go back. It depends. Or they renew the contract with the same employer.
Yeah, of course. And also, as a person who was there, I guess, what interested me personally is you see, like, you hear basically an undertone in the whole conversations and the trainings, like, the trainers tell them a Filipino, like, you don't cry, Filipino person isn't weak. And this whole conversation about them being heroes as like the president perceives them and stuff. And I wanted to ask you to what extent you hear this like national discourse there. You know, people talking about their national features, because me personally, I would expect them to talk more about themselves being women and, like, you know, doing housework and being there for people and experiencing all these crazy hardships they're training for. But I think they talk more about the national aspect of what they're doing. So yeah, after all this, my question is about this national discourse. How much did you hear it, and how dominant it is?
Yeah, this the fact that they are called, I mean, it's been it's not new, you know, that they are recalled the heroes of the economy, all the
Mm-hmm.
overseas Filipino workers,
Yeah.
because of course they make the country live out of the money they're sending to the country. So
Yeah, I think 10% of like the incoming money is.
yeah, I mean, it's, yeah,
Mhm.
it's really, it's like hundreds of billion, but billion dollar.
Yeah,
I
I
mean, you know,
think
it's
30 billions, maybe.
uh, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I'm not really
Yeah,
accurate
it's okay.
with the, yeah, but it's like 10%, as you say, and and so of course the country live out of, you know, their work abroad. So they are, you know, valued. I mean, they, you know, they, it's a way to say, okay, you are the heroes of the economy. But in the film, when they talk about it, they, you know, they just say, but I'm just sacrificing, you know, for my family. So how
Yeah.
come I'm a hero? I just you know, do the job for my family. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they consider themselves as a hero, you know. And even one of the lady is talking of this tragic situation of this woman, domestic work
Yeah,
helper in Kuwait, and she was chopped and found in the freezer.
yeah.
And she said how, you know, we're like heroes that are found, ended up, you know, in
Mm-hmm.
freezer, you know, dead after that. And it's also the government discourse, you know,
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
a way. And but the woman didn't really feel, you know, like being a hero. So they would, you know, refuse this
Narrative
yeah,
or yeah.
narrative, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, it's really interesting. Like me personally, I did hear of it, but only when watching the film, I was like, you know, I kind of understood how they live about with it. And so we have another question here from Avikam Rosenfeld, who asks, how do people in the Philippines treat these women? Is it considered a respected and legitimate work, or are they looked down to?
So I would say that I have observed both. Like in your community, if you go abroad, you know, you are the one who bring money, and in your own family, of course, you know, you bring money too. So in a way, it's a valued position. Like say,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you would, but and I observe that there is usually a gap between, you know, oh, you go abroad and you do this job, so you get the money, but then there's a big gap between, you know, what they really experience abroad and the hardship of the
Mm-hmm.
work, and
Yeah.
how the community staying in the Philippines perceive, you know, this job. So and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the workers are suffering from this gap, so they are suffering from the situation, but they cannot really tell also, because they don't want to, you know, worry their family, worry the people they know
Yeah.
that are in the country. And yeah, I want to say something else, but sorry, I forgot. Um, yeah, maybe it will, yeah, come in mind.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, if it pops in your mind, just let me know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this woman was saying, yeah, I was like taking selfies while, she was like sexually harassed all the time and sending it to her family. And yeah, and so we have like another person who asks us also about your experience of making the film, about how it is to direct a documentary in a foreign language.
I have it pop up in my mind,
Oh,
for
please,
the
yeah.
last question, is that what, on the other hand, what was interesting, I observed also that, some of the, so the women are going abroad to work, and sometimes they are able to send, their kids to good schools, or in which the kids are in classrooms, and in a class in which, they suffer sometimes from having a mother working as domestic worker abroad. So because they don't have their mother with them, and so they're, a bit different than the other who have their mother coming to the school
Yeah,
parties, or things like that. And sometimes they are bullied because their mother is a
really?
domestic worker abroad. So it
Wow.
also happening. So you have, it's a quite complex situation also for them, and according
Mhm.
to their own story.
Yeah, yeah, I see. Wow. Like the fact you mentioned that there might be bullied because of that, I think it's really new to me personally. Okay, so thank you. And like, do you want to answer the question
Yeah, of course.
about
Yeah, yeah,
directing the foreign language? Yeah, of course,
yeah.
because you encountered a couple of languages you probably don't speak, right? So,
Yeah, actually, what was, I mean, more easy in the Philippines, that I could, speak in English to people.
yeah.
And of course, the level of English is also diverse from, the education
Mhm,
people had in English. So, but that was something good, that I could still communicate, even in a very simple way, with the people
mhm,
I was filming. And but most of the time I had someone who helped me to translate and
mhm.
communicate with the people, because sometimes it was very important to communicate in the language. So in the film you have uh, the Tagalog and Ilonggo dialect, mainly
Mhm.
Ilonggo. And
Yeah.
so I always had someone that was able to translate me, and
Mhm.
communicate things more precisely than if we had both spoken in English together.
Mhm. I see, I see. And I also wanted to ask you about, like the women, like the heroes of the film. Um, did they watch it? And can you tell us a little bit about, what, like the responses?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I have actually so but yeah, they were already abroad when they watched the film. And they told me a lot that they cried, watching the
Yeah,
film.
it's hard not to cry watching it.
Yeah. And but very happy also to be in,
Mhm.
because they said that um, they are willing to that the film would change the gaze of the others on them, that they're more well considered by people, and so it's important to them for that. And I had the two experience that was very important, because I was able to show it in Hong Kong with three of them
Oh,
that are
wow.
in the film. So it was a very intense moment and
Wow.
emotional. And so they could do the Q&A with the audience, and with the audience that are really, facing this big phenomenon, because there are so many
Yeah.
Filipino workers in Hong Kong.
Mhm.
So it was very good. And I have there's something also with a woman that is in the film that is actually in Hong Kong at the moment,
Mhm.
and the film was broadcasted on Hong Kong TV, and
Oh,
she was
wow.
able to watch it
Wow.
alongside with her
Mhm.
employer. And
Oh,
so they
wow.
watched the film, and she said that it was so interesting because the employer, she didn't even know that she had a training before going at her place. She said, "Oh, it's so moving, when in the film the women are leaving their kids, behind." And so she was very moved by the film, and she said
Mhm.
she even asked, if she was homesick, that how it was, and she really tried to, like, feel empathy
Mhm.
towards her. So in a way, I was very moved when I, heard that, and
Mhm.
was thinking that if the movie could have, be useful in that sense, because when you make a
Mhm.
movie, you wonder, how it can reach people, how it can, just participate in the reflection you can have on society and how we can change things in a way. And of course it's very limited, the impact of a film that can have on the society, but I was very touched by this when she said that she was able to watch it with her employer.
Yeah, wow. Thank you for sharing this. We have only 3 minutes left. I have a lot of questions to ask, but I think I'll give you like this 3 minutes to say like anything else you want to share with us, or something which is really important for you about, sharing this training, because I think usually people think about like, the life these women have and the life they had before and the life they might have after, but nobody really thinks about like, this kind of X territory of the training. So yeah, anything else you think it's really
Yeah,
important for us to share about
I mean, what I would say is what was very important to me in making this film. If by watching the film, the audience can, feel, be really in their perspective, and feel what they are going through, and be able to understand them and feel compassion. I think that this is really what I wanted to do, and also break the stereotypes that are sticking to them, because there are so many domestic workers that are Filipinos also around the world,
it.
and all the studies show that they are they are considered as like naturally fit to do this job, naturally obedient, naturally
Hmm.
kind, and cheerful,
Caring, yeah.
and it was very important to me that the film breaks these stereotypes, and that we see in the film that we are with people with different personalities, with different
Mhm.
perspective, and that they are unique and they're human and with dignity. And we see in the film that they are building their own strategies, that they think things about the employers. They have
Mhm.
uh, chosen their situation because they have goals in life, and they are not only passive like victims without any will. And this is very important to me, that it can be felt like by the audience.
Mhm. I see. Okay, so I think our time is up, and I really wanted to thank you, Sang. It's really powerful thing, and it's so important to watch it in like what I think, and I guess so. Thank you for answering all these questions. Me personally, and I guess others were really curious, and thank you for being with us here.
Thank you so much for all these questions, and also the questions of the audience. And I was very happy to be able to show this film at your place.
It's really important for it to be shown here. So good luck with your work, and it's really amazing work, and thanks a lot again.
Great, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.